Good morning, everybody out in social media land. This is your man, Bobby Hesley. And I got to tell you, your man, Bobby Hesley, is very angry this morning. I actually went to bed pretty angry last night. For those of you who follow me on Facebook, I'm very troubled by an occurrence that happened. I don't know if it was yesterday, the day before, or when it happened. But let's just say that it was open, blatant, racist discrimination towards a black conservative. And that's why you're not hearing anything about it on the news. You're not hearing anything about it on CNN, MSNBC, all the other mainstream media channels. You're not hearing anything about it anywhere. You know why? Because it's a black conservative. That's why. Hey, Cap, where you at? Colin Kaepernick, where you at? Jesse Jackson, where you at? Al Sharpton, where are you? All you race hustlers who make millions of dollars and get fame, fortune, and clout, profiting off of the manufactured anger and misery of the people that you claim to help, where are you when a black man gets thrown off of an airplane? And this hits home with me, guys, because you know why he was thrown off the airplane? Off of the Southwest Airlines airplane? Because he was wearing this. That's why. Specifically because he was exercising his First Amendment rights, his free speech rights, to wear a Black Voices for Trump cap. That's why he was thrown off the plane. That's why it hits home with me. And that's why I'm up early in the morning, Facebook Live-ing to talk about it, because it needs to be talked about. It hits home with me, folks. I'm a volunteer at the Detroit Trump headquarters office in Detroit for Black Voices for Trump. In fact, I'll be there tomorrow. We got a pretty big event that's going to be going on tomorrow. So when I see not only one of my fellow African Americans, but specifically one of my fellow blacks that has the courage and the conviction to wear his Black Voices for Trump hat in public on an airplane, which there's no law against doing, and I see him get discriminated against and harassed and thrown off of an airplane, that makes my blood boil. It really does. Because not only was he thrown off the airplane for wearing this, there's another thing that he was wearing that caused him to be thrown off that airplane. You want to know what it is? He was wearing this. Guys, you know me. I can't stand it when people play the race card. I believe that there's a difference between pointing out instances of legitimate racism and sounding the alarm when there's legit racism going on, like in this case of Southwest Airlines, and then there's simply playing the race card when you don't get your way. When there was no racism that occurred, you just didn't get your way. So all of a sudden you want to say that it's because of your race that a certain outcome didn't happen that you wanted to happen. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm not playing the race card here. Matter of fact, the flight attendant is the one who played the race card. Do you really think he would have got thrown off that plane if he was wearing a Biden 2020 hat? If he was wearing a Biden-Harris mask? Now, obviously, the pretext of them throwing him off the plane was that he lowered his mask to chew his food, from what I've been told. The story is still developing, but think about that, guys. You can't have it both ways. If people have to keep their face thongs on 24/7 and not take it off at all, then why would you serve drinks and beverages? Why would you serve food and beverages? Why would you? When I flew back from Thailand, it was a 14-hour flight. They didn't enforce wearing masks because they serve food. They encouraged us to wear our masks, except when we eat, which is pretty much the same that happens, when you go to a restaurant. But that's a travesty, guys. Now, a lot of people would watch that video and be kind of like a recliner chair quarterback and say, oh man, stick to your guns, sit there, be a modern day Rosa Parks, refuse to move, Don't let them throw you off that plane. Don't comply. Don't be so nice to them. Don't be so polite to them. You have a right to wear your Black Voices for Trump hat. It's your free speech. But you know what would have happened to this gentleman if he would have done that, guys? I actually agree with his decision. I would have handled myself the same way. I really would have. Because what'll happen is you can't mess with airlines. We're in the post 9/11 era. So what happens is if you're asked or ordered to leave an airplane for whatever reason, whether you're right or wrong, but if you're asked to leave a plane and you refuse to get off the plane, what ends up happening is they call the airport police, they call the TSA, and they will tase you, they will handcuff you, and they will drag you off that plane. And then they'll sequester you for questioning afterwards. And then what'll happen is you'll be put on a federal flight ban list because you refuse to get off of a plane. They would actually see you as a threat. That's what would have happened. And this racist airline employee knew that. He knew that this guy was dead to rights, even though he did nothing wrong. And the guy was probably hoping that a black Trump supporter wearing a Black Voices for Trump hat would cause a scene, so that way they could brand Trump conservatives as, airline terrorists, people that are hostile in the air that you don't want to fly with. That would have made the news. If they would have had to tase and handcuff and drag this man off the plane, that would have been all over the news. That's a fact. That you can guarantee that. But that's not what happened. So I applaud this gentleman's decision to comply and to protect his right to flight so he doesn't get arrested. But you know what, guys? I believe that anybody who shares my outrage, anybody who has an ounce of decency in them, whether you're on the right or on the left, whether you're a Trump or a Biden supporter, if you have an ounce of decency, I think that we should boycott Southwest Airlines. I think that they should not only be boycotted, they should be sued into bankruptcy. And it would be nothing new. As a matter of fact, it's almost like a transplantation of the civil rights era into the year 2020. Because you want to know who invented cancel culture, guys? Cancel culture is nothing new. It's a tool that the left has been weaponizing lately, but cancel culture is nothing new. You know who invented cancel culture, guys? Rosa Parks, who actually was one of our Detroit own when she died. I don't know if you guys know that Rosa Parks was living in Detroit when she died. Her funeral was in Detroit. Bill Clinton came in, everybody came in to eulogize Rosa Parks. So our own Rosa Parks from Detroit, who died in Detroit, she was actually down in Alabama when she became famous, or wherever she was in the South. It's early. I don't have that much memory. She invented cancel culture by boycotting and refusing to comply with the transportation industry because they discriminated against her because of the color of her skin. So I believe that this gentleman that was thrown off the airplane is the Rosa Parks of our time. And I believe, and I hope through the new media, not through the lamestream media, but through the new media, through social media, through guys that have, platforms like me, other bigger platforms than me, whoever else, even the Trump campaign, I hope that they can make this a big deal and that they not let this go. And if I was an attorney, I would be doing everything I could to track down this man to try to take his case, because I smell millions of dollars. Love you too, Julianne. I smell millions of dollars in a lawsuit. This guy could be set for the rest of his life if he gets a hold of the right kind of attack dog attorney. And I think Southwest should be boycotted and sued into bankruptcy. I really do. One thing I've learned, guys, and I know people say that I'm a conspiracy theorist when I say this, but I have always said that the most racist people in America have always been the white Democrat left. They have. You want to go back through history real quick at the risk of me sounding like a broken record? Well, when did it all start? Started back in the days of slavery, right? You had the conservative white North who had to go to war with the Southern Democrat, racist Dixie South in order to end slavery. White people, conservative white people, went to war with Democrat Southern white people to put it into slavery. Love you too, Jeannie Garmo. Right? History lesson number 2. After slavery ended, these same bitter, defeated Dixie Democrats that lost their power control over us instituted Jim Crow laws, instituted the era of segregation. Segregation with education, segregation with housing, economic segregation, transportation segregation, like blacks being forced to sit in the back of the bus. Right? Those were all white Democrats, folks. Those were white, liberal Democrats. That's who they were. Openly racist, white, liberal Democrats. KKK, the terrorist wing of the Democrat Party, to intimidate black people to not vote, would bomb our churches, bomb our schools, bomb our homes. Those were Democrat white people. They weren't conservatives. Those were not white conservatives, guys. The white conservatives were the ones that were fighting that. They were. Then you fast forward to 1965, which is 100 years right after the Emancipation Proclamation, which, by the way, was handed by a white Republican that ended slavery. 100 years later, you have a white Democrat instituting the Great Society, the War on Poverty, which gave us the modern day welfare state, that chased the black father out of the home, that rewarded single black women to fornicate, that financially rewarded fornication so that they can keep their government benefits as long as a man that impregnated them is not in the house. It's called the man in the house rule. That destroyed the black family. And it also rewarded not working as hard as you can, because if your income exceeds a certain level, guess what? You lose your big daddy government benefits. When the state is the baby daddy, you got to do what the baby daddy state says. You got to go to the schools that the baby daddy says your kids go to, the public schools that indoctrinate you. If he's going to pay for the housing with Section 8, you can't have a man in the house. If he's going to pay for food with the food stamps, you can't make a certain amount of money. That's all from the white left, guys. Lyndon B. Johnson said, I'll have these N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years when he passed that legislation. He didn't pass it because he cared about black people. That's not why he passed it. Then you have the black population control white left that believe in black population control. And I know she's dead and she can't defend herself now, but when you're a public figure, the things you say publicly are going to haunt you in life and in death. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is on file, on record, in an interview with the New York Times saying that abortion was good for population control. She actually said that. I will link to the article below after this video when I get back to the office. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the hero of the left, who reminds me of Stephen Hawking. You guys know what I'm talking about there. She does. A bitter, angry, old, shriveled up person. She said that abortion was good for keeping down certain segments of the population. Well, who has abortion? What segment of the population has abortion kept down more than any other segment? People who look like me, that's who. Abortion is not just some political issue. It's not just some woman's right to choose. Abortion is an evil black population control scheme that has killed 40 million black Americans. And that is why we're still stuck at 13% after being here for 400 years. It is 40 million. You heard me right. Because Roe versus Wade was passed in 1973. That was 47 years ago, guys. So the first generation of Roe versus Wade, all those babies that were killed, they would all be old enough to have at least 3 kids by now. Hell, they'd be old enough to be grandparents by now. The first generation of Roe. Think about it. How many 47-year-olds do you know that have at least 2 or 3 kids? How many 47-year-old grandparents do you know? I know that's on the younger side to be a grandparent, but think about it. When you think of the opportunity cost that abortion has costed the black community, each of those babies that were aborted back in 1973, each of those 20 million, if they would have had at least 1 child, there's 40 million. So you also have to factor in the birth opportunity cost. And again, who are the biggest proponents of abortion? Who are the biggest proponents of black population control? White liberals, that's who. Who practice the bigotry of low expectations, that says that black women need welfare. They don't need to stick with the man who impregnate them. They want them to get pregnant by multiple men so that they can get their WIC, they can get their food stamps, they can get their Section 8, they can get their SSI, they can get their ADC, their kids can get their free lunches. But the government will take care of them. To me, that's the bigotry of low expectations, guys. They think that that's all we're good for. They think we can't fend for ourselves. They think that we can't get married, date the right person, find the right partner, get married, have a child, and raise a family. Oh, whites can do it. But these blacks, man, we better help them with their welfare checks. It's racism. So this blatant racism, guys, I believe should be punished. I believe it should be publicized. And I really hope the Trump campaign, for anybody who's watching this, I really hope the Trump campaign gets wind of this, because it was one of us. And when I say one of us, I'm not just saying one of us Trump supporters, because we're all Trump supporters. We all love our president. It was one of us. It was one of us Black Voices for Trump people that experienced blatant racist discrimination on an airline, Rosa Parks style. We were thrown off of a transportation vehicle because of the color of our skin. Because how dare a black person support Donald Trump? How dare a black person not get behind Mr. 94 crime bill that's incarcerated more black people than anybody else? Mr. You ain't black if you don't support me. Mr. Poor kids are just as talented as white kids. Mr. They gonna put y'all's back in chains. Mr. There's no diversity of thought in the black community. Mr. I wouldn't be able to be sequestered in my basement during a global pandemic unless a black woman was stocking my grocery store shelves. How dare we not get behind him? How dare we think for ourselves and wear our Black Voices for Trump hat? Trump campaign, we got some red meat for you. We got a couple weeks before the election. Yeah, that's right, Darcy. Mr. I don't want my kids to go to a racial jungle, which is why he opposed integration in schools. So Trump campaign, we got some red meat. We're 2 or 3 weeks away from November 3rd. This is what we need right here. Let's not let a crisis go to waste, shall we? Let's not let some racism go to waste. This got to go public, guys. Share this video. It ain't about Bobby Hesley. It's about Black Voices for Trump, man. Not all attention, you know, what's the old saying? Any attention you get, whether it's positive or negative, is good attention. Well, we got some attention, folks, because one of us just got thrown off of an airplane for wearing this. It's got to go national. Thanks for sharing, Darcy. Share this, guys. Share it. Blast it. And let us sue Southwest Airlines into bankruptcy. Class action lawsuits. Anybody know any good attack dog attorneys? Let's try to follow this story and let's try to track this young man down who was thrown off the airplane, and let's make him a multi-millionaire, shall we? Let's make this man a multi-millionaire for what happened to him. And let's make an example out of Southwest Airlines. That you don't mess with Black Voices for Trump. You don't throw us off airplanes. And if you throw us off airplanes, it's going to cost you millions of dollars, and it might even cost you your airline. That was a very expensive mistake you guys made. In the airline industry, we saw it on video, guys. There were witnesses, white witnesses at that. There were white witnesses saying that this man did nothing wrong. He wore his mask the whole time. He kept his mask on while he was eating, and he only lowered it when he had to chew or sip. There are witnesses on tape saying that. We need to make an example out of Southwest Airlines, Rosa Parks style. Let's boycott them. This is how it started in the 1950s. This is how it started. This is how the civil rights movement started. It all started due to transportation discrimination with Miss Rosa Parks, Sister Parks, who died in Detroit. So let's not let this instance, this public instance that was captured on camera that cannot be denied, this public instance of transportation discrimination, let's not let it go to waste. All right, guys? So I'm going to run. I'm not going to repeat myself. Please share this video far and wide. Let's make our voice heard. Let's make our black voices for Trump heard. Linda Lee Tarver, Ty Bundy, Robin Barnes. One of ours just got thrown off a plane yesterday. We need to make our voices heard about that. I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow at the Trump Detroit office. I'm going to be there. We got a really big event. I will announce what's going on tomorrow. But I will see you guys then. I love you. God bless you. Hashtag cancel Southwest Airlines. Let's make this Black Voices for Trump gentleman a multi-millionaire for what happened to him. See you later, folks. God bless.